Hello, and welcome back to Pulp Kitchen for a very special genre-focused episode. We are today going to be talking about what are the best sci-fi movies of all time.
We asked. You answered.
Please.
No, we asked. You answered on Instagram.
We love a people's vote, don't we, George?
Yes.
Because we give plenty of our own opinions out, but it's actually really good to cast out a question to our 100,000 plus followers on Instagram and have all of you immediately just flood our DMs with, the rival Interstellar.
We open the balcony door and people go, oh, here we go. We just throw out
It's a bit like in The Philosopher's Stone when he opens the letterbox and the letters just come flying at Vernon and things. No, it's always a very interesting exercise just to see what are the people's votes. We loved it when we did our live show and we asked about what were the best films of the 2020s. Go and listen to Pulp Kitchen 200 if you haven't already. But we're just going to run through what were some of the top films that came up the most, what are some other picks that we thought were really good nods, and maybe some of our own personal favourites as well, for what are the greatest sci-fi movies of all time.
Well, starting off, no surprises here, given its high place at episode 200 of the best movies of the 2020 so far. June and June Part 2, naturally. I totally agree. That's some of the best massive sci-fi, I would call, big idea sci-fi.
The slick modern sci-fi masterpiece, wasn't it? And I think it's there was something about watching the Dunes that felt like they were successfully attempting to be a classic made for the modern audience. I think there's a really timeless, beautiful aesthetic to it that I think hopefully we'll look back on in 20 years and be like, it still looks like a fine wine.
Also, I think we should probably just, I guess, set the parameters of science fiction. I know we all think we know what that is, but actually, I guess, because we're going through the list, some people sent stuff that's kind of right on the periphery. Science fiction, it can mean two things, but obviously one encompass thing.
Science fiction.
But really, it's a genre of ideas and like positing ideas. So typically, people tend to think of sci-fi, which is kind of almost like a subgenre of science fiction. Sci-fi's come to mean things that are set in space, things like Star Trek or Star Wars or Alien, whereas science fiction in its truest form is actually about like ideas, like anything to do with time travel is a classic thing of
future dystopia.
Black Mirror is a great example of like science fiction.
To be fair to Star Trek, I think within the Star Trek TV series would have without a doubt some amazing sci-fi episodes. Same with likes of Doctor Who.
The Twilight Zone. Absolutely.
Not to poo-poo it, but talking about films specifically, we had some people mention The Empire Strikes Back, and it's like nobody loves The Empire Strikes Back more than us. It's a brilliant film, but I almost feel like it just doesn't quite compute to compare Empire Strikes Back next to Arrival or something else. They're just trying to achieve very different things. It's fantasy.
Exactly. So sometimes when you say to people, "Oh, science fiction," they immediately think of space. It's like, well, actually, immediately think of space, but actually, a film like The Adjustment Bureau is a science fiction film.
Yes,
absolutely, in its purest form. Anyway, with that caveat, moving on. People have sent the double bill of Christopher Nolan of Inception and Interstellar.
Should we start with Inception?
Yeah, Inception.
Really wonderfully novel idea to do with dreams, and I think like such an amazing sci-fi concept that he uses and brilliantly demonstrates is like the time dilation rule for dreams. And I just think that the idea of going layers within layers within layers is so fun and playful, and seeing how that affects. And it's like it's insanely confusing, and it's a film that demands, I think, at least 2 rewatches to fully understand it. But like I remember when it came out, it totally captured the imagination of everyone, and it was the film you had to see from the guy who made The Dark Knight. And it was his real he had really sort of like solidified himself after that as like a sci-fi director, and went on to do Interstellar and all sorts.
I think that what's great about Inception as a science fiction film is that it has big ideas, but it pulls it off on a big scale. And you don't always need that with science fiction, but that's the fun of Inception, is that the ideas are really fascinating, and it's backed up by Paris folding in on itself.
And for ideas so ridiculous and visuals like Paris folding in on itself, it's incredibly grounded in the same way that The Dark Knight was. But what if this actually happened in the real world? Everyone wears very normal clothing. They have very normal conversations. The dialogue, though they're talking about like words you've never heard before, it actually feels like these are sort of like time agents operating in the real world. And I think that gives it an extra sense of like, oh, this is so cool.
And then with that point onto Interstellar, it's like, what I like about Interstellar is that it has got the scale, and it's got the ideas, and it's also got the emotional heart to it as
romance,
well. The real sort of, it doesn't just posit you with ideas, it makes you feel the emotional significance of what happens if you are separated, not just by space from your family, but by time as well.
I really think Interstellar, the more we get apart from it, and the more that Nolan makes films and switches genres and does period drama, I really feel like, all remains to be seen, but I feel like Interstellar is going to stand out almost as like the people's choice after The Dark Knight, as the film that people love the
Yes,
most.
yes.
You may like another film more, but in terms of like that feeling you got when you first saw
Yeah.
it, Interstellar both blows your mind like an Inception or a Prestige,
Yeah.
but it just stabs you in the heart more than any of his other films have, quite frankly. And I think that's what really just elevates it. Whatever he was able to do with the end of Interstellar, the hammering on the bookcase, the final moments between so and so. I'm going to try not to spoil it too much in case you haven't seen it. But that truly is like some of my favorite Nolan work, with the score rising towards the final conclusion. And I've seen Interstellar 5 or 6 times in cinema now, and every time it just takes my breath away.
Yeah, I think whilst we're talking about Interstellar, I'd like to give a shout out to another science fiction film that a couple of other people did as like a kind of curveball one, which is Robert Zemeckis' film Contact, which also features Matthew McConaughey, and in a kind of has thematic relations to Interstellar because it's about a father and a daughter being sort of separated and grief. And Contact is a lot more of a talky film. It's a lot of people in rooms, and it's kind of about faith actually, but it actually has one of the great science fiction openings in that it starts with a close-up shot of Earth from space. Nice. And all you hear is just the noise and the cacophony of Earth. I'm talking about music, people talking, such and such, and the signals. And you slowly pull away from Earth, and you keep hearing them, keep hearing them, keep hearing them. And it's like how the noise of Earth sort of bounces around space and gets quieter. And then you come back to
Soul.
Yeah, it's a really
like
it's a classic. Yeah, it's a classic 90s. It's based off a Carl Sagan book. So it's full of ideas and stewy things. It's slightly dated a little bit, but definitely a shout out. It's more interesting than people think of. And I think if Interstellar is the A movie, the A side of the record,
I see.
Contact is the B side.
Nice. Okay, cool. Love that.
Some other ones coming up here, following that idea of grief and emotional heart with big ideas and excellent execution. Arrival was one of the huge nominees.
One of the top ones going up there.
Yeah.
I love Arrival.
Yeah, great movie.
What a heartbreak of a movie. Again, I don't want to spoil it because if people haven't seen it, you should really prioritize Arrival. And I think although on paper it's like the aliens have come, I find Arrival very boots on the ground.
Yeah.
And very grounded as a story, and it's very matter of fact and logical, and it's about people really trying to figure something out, but running through the heart of it are the clues to something so much greater. There's a wonderful non-linearity to it that sort of is teased throughout the whole thing, and it's got the most amazing score. It's got brilliant performances, the aesthetic of the alien ship, and the sort of like 16:9 frame from which they communicate with them, I just find really scintillating and evocative, and it's very alien and minimalist, and it's like they are interfacing with something that's not clear to us. There are no buttons or switches, but it was like a window into a world, and it's misty and obscure. I just everything about the design, the performance, the gloomy, cloudy, overcast tone of it is just wonderful. And I'd love to sit down and rewatch Arrival and have a good old sob.
Yeah, I rewatched it.
It's top.
A couple of years ago. It's brilliant.
That's the first time I was like, "Who's this Denis Villeneuve guy?"
He's
really. Oh, he did Prisoners. This guy's really top.
I like Michael Stuhlbarg in that.
Yeah,
he is the boots on the ground guy.
Yes.
And I think everyone forgets that Jeremy Renner's in that movie
Yeah,
because
he
it's
is.
Amy Adams' film, isn't it? Really. Arrival, a great movie. And Denis, obviously, we got Blade Runner 2049.
And sorry, just quickly, there's the amazing tension that's built up for the first time they go inside the ship. That's all brilliantly done. Yeah, sorry.
So Blade Runner 2049 as
also
well.
Excellent.
One of the best legacy sequels we've said before.
Exactly. No right being as good as it was. I really hold it up as one of the best legacy sequels that's been made. Fantastic.
And then
one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen.
And then Alien, as well, a seminal piece of science fiction work, sci-fi, bordering onto horror. I mean, it is one of them, probably the most influential films, up there with one of the most influential films of the last 50 years of all time. Iconic, and everyone remembers it. It's just fantastic and evocative and singular and brilliant. And there have been other good Alien movies. I love Aliens for one, but there's something about the original that's just so effective.
Yeah, and spawned a very successful and currently active IP. Yeah, like it's still going, and like we reviewed Romulus last year. And it was great.
Yeah.
We had a really good time with it. And if they continue to make Aliens like the Romulus film, I'm like really. We said it's the third best Alien film, which is a huge compliment to it. But yeah, Alien 1, I mean, like masterpiece of special effects and story and the digital effects just in general. I told you this story about this TikTok I saw about a woman who saw Alien in 1989.
The cigarettes,
about the cigarettes. She was talking about smoking indoors and how obviously there was no internet. The proliferation of like spoilers and someone ruining a film from you wasn't really there. And so there had been rumors about this film called Alien from 1979 that had come out and it had a scene in it that was really crazy and you needed to go and see it. But nobody knew what it was. And back in 1979, you could smoke indoors at the cinema, which to us is absolutely insane. And she remembers going to see the film, remembers watching films through a haze of smoke. But there was a packed theatre. And at the moment in Alien, which I can spoil because I think you'd know, where the alien bursts out of the person's chest was so shocking that everyone, when they saw that moment, inhaled their cigarette in shock. And she said there was an orange glow on the screen from everyone going, fucking hell, look at that, which I find such a fascinating relic of like, watching a film 50 years ago that you just never get now. I think that's just a brilliant story for a great scene, shocking a communal group of people, and you never really get that experience now. It's quite funny.
I hope to never watch a film in a smoke-filled room.
You're about to go on like an 11-hour flight. Could you imagine?
Just sitting in tar.
Awful.
No, thank you.
Awful.
And then I think we need to get probably what is one of, I would say, definitely the most popular. I mean, a lot of the films we've mentioned are very popular, but I think maybe the definitive popular science fiction movie of all time, which is The Matrix.
I think we described it as a perfect film recently.
Fantastic. Yeah, what a great movie. And I know a lot of people will say, do you know, a lot of its great science fiction ideas exist in things like Akira. I've not seen Akira. I'm very much at the top of my to-watch list. I'll get there. I'm sure, obviously, there are ideas and ingredients within The Matrix that are really important. I mean, Fritz Lang's Metropolis from 1924, that's hugely influential as well. But the Matrix is like two great films in one. You get this ideas, you get the first half all about Morpheus sitting down, telling him what's happened. It's so fascinating. And then you get the bloody great action.
And George, when we eventually go on to do action movies, this film also sits in the list of greatest because it's both. It's one of the best action movies ever made. I kind of said like it's both awesome and thought-provoking. And it manages to do both. One does not, just because it does loads of fighting doesn't mean it can't be incredibly deep and smart. What a brilliant movie. I watched it a little bit too young. It was just perfect for me. Like I was a little bit scared of the agents and like the threat of death. I found quite a lot, but I was like, oh, I just absolutely love this.
Do you know why The Matrix is great? Is because when you look at it, with all respect to it, you would be forgiven from the outside of thinking that looks like a very silly movie.
Straight to DVD.
If you were just to see a picture of Keanu Reeves bending backwards trying to do bullet time, it looks a bit silly.
On strings, people
Carrie Ann
each
Moss
other.
wearing what is essentially a gimp suit,
going like this, turning and going, come on then.
It looks very silly, but it's not silly. It's incredibly brilliant.
And a wonderful time capsule of like...
Hot take, The Matrix is great.
Yeah, Hot take, The Matrix is great. A lovely time capsule as well of like the style of alternative culture. Leather, hacking, digital, a digitized world comes out at the perfect time at the dawn of the millennium. It's just great. I could rewatch it every year for the rest of my life and I think not ruin my enjoyment of it. It's perfect.
And that's the only Matrix film you need to see.
Yeah, critique it. How do you critique it? What's bad about it? It makes it Keanu Reeves does a good performance in it.
Hugo Weaving, one of the most iconic villains ever.
A great monologue. This place, this zoo, this reality, whatever you want to call it. I can't stand it any longer.
Great supporting performance.
It's the smell.
Lawrence Fishburne. Great. What's the guy? Oh, what's he called? You know, a Sci-Fi. What's the guy? Joe Pantoliano.
He's brilliant.
Hey, I choose The Matrix.
I choose The Matrix.
Also,
juicy and delicious.
Deeply profound. This thing, because it's about ideas, like the philosophical threat of when what's her name? I can't remember the character's name, but when she's like, not like this, not like this. It's horrible because you know what it means, and she just sort of drops dead. Excellent.
An amazing scene with the Oracle about a prophet who says so much, but without anything concrete. It's like, here, take a cookie, which is like referring to cookies and cash and the internet. There's like a tracking thing. I just loved it. Absolutely loved it.
So I'm going to just pick off a few films now that are more towards the ideas-based sort of elements of science fiction, because we have very big films there.
Sci-fi just lends itself to be quite big in general.
Absolutely. I want to give a shout out to Children of Men.
Oh yeah, I still need to see.
I really think you should. And again, it's a reminder to people that if you liked Logan, if you liked The Last of Us, if you like things like that, it owes so much to Children of Men. Owes so much to the point that I wonder if when you watch Children of Men eventually, maybe slightly its edge has been taken off because you would have seen the ingredients of other things. However, It's based off a novel by P.D. James, I believe, and it came out in 2006, and its depiction of a future of Britain that is run down, fascistic, and full of violence is uncomfortably close, sadly. We're not quite there, but it's very uncomfortable. And Alfonso Cuarón's depiction of that is really interesting. You've got societal imbalance. You've got the threat of the other and sort of refugees. It's a beautiful film, and it has a great one-er scene, beautiful sort of conclusion. And I do recommend it to people. I think it's fantastic. And it's one of those films actually that because I showed it to Anna and she quite liked it, but I think there's something in Children of Men that resonates with men bizarrely, with its emotional thing, but you haven't seen it, so we will draw a line there.
Right. This is a quick message brought to you by our friends at Airbnb.
So, James, as you and many of the listeners know, I'm getting married next year.
Yes, of course. Congratulations.
Thank
How
you.
is the planning going?
Yeah, pretty good, actually. We're quite ahead of schedule. So much so that we're now actually thinking about the honeymoon.
Ah, lovely. Yeah. Where are you thinking?
Still TBC, but we're obviously trying to make it like a special trip. So I'm probably going to be away that extra bit longer.
Okay, that is going to have to be approved by Sue at Pulp Kitchen HR.
Well, because I'm going to be away for a while, not only am I thinking about hosting my flat on Airbnb,
Yes, no brainer.
I was also thinking about using the co-host network to give me that extra bit of help managing my hosting while I'm away.
Yeah, that's a great idea. For those of you who don't know, the co-host network is when you can team up with someone local to handle things for you while you're away.
Yeah.
They can help manage the reservation, message guests, and just generally deal with any on-site support where it's needed.
That's right. And I think it'll just give me that added peace of mind, given that I'm away for that extra bit longer. Also, it's likely there'll be times I'll be a little bit off grid, so it just makes me relax knowing that I've got someone to take care of things while I'm off.
Exactly. And you do want to be thinking about your boring old life while you're on your honeymoon.
Thanks, James. Plus, having that extra bit of cash coming in from hosting on Airbnb just helps me put that towards little few things like taxis, transfers, maybe a cheeky seat upgrade on the plane.
So if having someone local to help you handle things while you're away sounds good, find a co-host at airbnb.co.uk/host.
Friend of the show, Johanna James, shouted out. Guy Pearce's The Time Machine.
Yeah,
which
why
I've
not
not seen.
I've seen it. I saw that at school.
Sure.
Yeah, a really long time ago. I reckon that has some of the worst special, from memory, really bad CGI.
Yeah.
But I have a soft spot for Guy Pearce.
Do you know what no one has shouted out, which I think is a shame, because they are science fiction films, but there's not a single Planet of the Apes movie
I was just
here.
going to say it made me think of Planet of the Apes because like the long, big jump into the future. Yeah, like I think if you'd said science fiction, I would have gone, is it? But this is obviously like a thing. Yeah, kind of.
When Apes Roar, but
They're more like war films.
I guess so. Yeah, I
don't really know. Yeah, I give it.
I think it's a branch. There's a branch there.
No, nobody's really. Are any Apes films amazing? Apart from Dawn.
I think Rise is a definition of like a solid movie.
Rise
Good
solid.
movie.
I
And
thought
Dawn, I think, is
the
probably the
sequel
best.
to that was the best. Yeah.
And then War is okay. I don't need to see Kingdom. I've never seen the original 1968 version, but I think it's just probably so dated now.
War is the one with Woody Harrelson.
Correct.
I've seen that one. I didn't see Kingdom.
Yeah, no, Kingdom. Oh, no, don't see Kingdom, yeah. I was wanting to shout out, so you reminded me now, because you got films like, there was another science fiction film that Charlton Heston made after the Planet of the Apes called The Omega Man, which was actually really cool and quite creepy and effective for the time. And it was remade into a movie famously known as I Am Legend, which was not that great a movie.
No.
But the idea that the novel is based off of is really interesting about, because this isn't really explored in the movie, but like the reason it's called I Am Legend is that whereas vampires are now to us like legends in this world, that vampires are the real ones. And actually, I've now gone on a massive tangent. Do you remember the movie Daybreakers with Ethan Hawke, where everyone's a vampire? Sam Neill's in it, Willem Dafoe's in it. I've never seen it, but I always wanted to when I was
younger.
younger.
They like farm humans for blood.
And then they like find a cure or something. Or there's a human. They discover like a human.
That's
or
a great.
something.
Do you remember the movie Daybreakers?
Yeah.
And they all live at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they feast on the blood. Yeah.
Well, actually, and also talking about forgotten sci-fi when we talked about The Matrix, one I'd shout out to James that you weren't familiar with is Equilibrium. This is a Christian Bale 2002 science fiction film that very much is like The Matrix had been a success.
Yeah.
Let's do something else. And the aesthetic of it is a bit of a Matrix knockoff.
Right.
But it has some like Christian Bale in a long, tight black trench coat with a samurai sword and dual-wielding pistols.
Yeah. There's also
battling
the
a
film
fascistic
The
regime.
One with was it Jet Li?
Oh, really? I
There's
don't know.
loads of like Matrix knockoffs. Yeah.
Let's go to we've done that one. We've done that one. Ex Machina.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah,
Brilliant film.
I've only seen that one time, and I think I'd love to sit back
It's
in that.
really worth a rewatch, I think, as well. When you know, do you remember the ending?
Yes,
yeah,
quite vividly.
yeah. Like the last shot and everything. I don't want to spoil.
Yes.
Yeah, a brilliantly knotty, dense. You in a really fun way. You never know what the hell is going on. And even you start to doubt whether or not you think the person you think is the good person is the good person. It's a wonderful three-piece.
Yes.
Oscar Isaac, Donald Gleason, and Alicia Vikander. My favorite design for a robot.
Yeah.
And an AI robot. It's like she's wonderfully translucent, like a spider web. You can see through her and you can see the things going. Amazing Alicia Vikander performance. It's just brilliantly knotty and fun and quite funny as well, but really dark, and just excellent ideas about the nature of what it is to be alive and sentient. It's a Turing test where someone wins a competition to go to the CEO's house where he's developed a brand new artificial intelligence. He's trying to figure out if it's real. Really deep conversations about like what it was to be real. Why did you design her to have a sexuality? Like, what does that mean? Fantastic, love it.
And a shout out to not as quite as accomplished, a bit of a flawed movie, but still quite interesting, is Alex Garland's next film, Annihilation.
Yeah.
Which is flawed, but has some moments, particularly towards the end, where you go, this is really freaky science fiction ideas colliding with visuals and gore.
Totally. And like I really one day want to ask Alex Garland this. I didn't have time when I spoke to him this year for Danny Boyle for 28 years later, because it would have been inappropriate. But like when you watch Ex Machina, Annihilation, and even to an extent Civil War, I really could see how much Alex Garland is influenced by Tarkovsky's Stalker, especially Annihilation. The idea of going into the next part of it for discovery, going into the void, going past the singularity. It's all very much of it. I'd love to say, like, can I just I'm going mad. How much are you influenced by Tarkovsky's Stalker? I just want him to go, yes, I'm influenced by Tarkovsky's Stalker, and then I can sleep at night. But that's just the thing you could definitely see in all of his work.
And at this point, just to shout out, because you mentioned Alex Garland, I want to say again, I think Alex Garland was involved in this. If not, shout out to Danny Boyle. Sunshine, a good science fiction movie, a standalone one that I think is on your watch list.
A big black hole of mine.
Yeah, a great cast in that, who have all still gone on to like win Oscars and be future successful people. Very good. District 9. District 9, a movie that we really like. We've talked about this many times on the show about how the promise of Neil Blomkamp didn't quite ever come through. No. He made Chappie, which was a disappointment. He made Elysium. I mean, no one talks about those movies. But District 9 is still a great film. For me, the Lost movie is he was going to at one point make an Alien sequel. That would have been very interesting. But District 9, great.
Cool movie. Cool movie. I don't know how well they've held up. It was 2009, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it's a found footage movie, which is what I forget.
Found footage, peak found footage. I want to say that the special effect, I remember the aliens wearing normal clothes in the slums all looked really real, and I felt like they really took place in that world. And I think the found footage format really adds to that of making it feel realistic. I want to say it's aged really well, but I can't tell. I've only seen it once, but I really enjoyed it. Found it quite sad and moving. I think a really great poster of the gnarly mothership hovering over. I thought that was really like,
and the sign is like
District. It's really like an intimidating looking alien ship. It's kind of like Independence Day with more craggly bits, more Mad Max. It's great.
Yes. I want to give a shout out to a film that I had forgotten about, but a lot of people had shouted it out, and I'd forgotten about it until I interviewed Julia Fox recently, and she said it was one of her favorite films, which is The Fifth Element. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah. Once, ages
exactly.
ago.
And I think we'd enjoy it much more now. I think we'd enjoy the campiness of it. I think at the time when you're young, you're probably craving a certain type of satisfaction from a movie, but I think now we'd find it a lot funnier. You've got obviously Bruce Willis and Mia Jovovich in the sort of center, but you've got Gary Oldman in a completely bizarre kind of role as an arms dealer with a big sweep over, and Lee Evans turns up and Chris Tucker.
Of course.
There's a whole sequence on the ship. I don't know if you remember that. Like, it's like peak Luc Besson, and they're all dressed in Jean-Paul Gaultier, and it's just
held in really high regard. The Fifth Element, and I'm like, you don't see or hear about it that much, apart from people saying, well, of course, The Fifth Element.
Yeah, I think people hold a place to it because before sci-fi got too grounded and serious and you know, gritty,
more camp and
this
fun.
is like fun and madcap and like.
I think Guardians of the
big blue
Galaxy
book.
really brought back. You can totally see The Fifth Element in Guardians.
That's a good shout.
And I guess
actually.
now like the MCU's like space punky aesthetic.
And then two, I'm going to mention the same breath because they're quite similar. But again, these do technically count as science fiction films. Is Her, the Spike Jonze movie with Joaquin Phoenix, and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Hello, who directed that one? That's not Charlie. It's written by Charlie Kaufman, isn't it? But hold on. Eternal Sunshine of the Michel Gondry. Michel Gondry.
Should we start with Her?
Yeah. Only seen it once.
Her predicted voice-based large learning language models before we had them. Predicted AirPods before we had them.
And the return of high-waisted pleated trousers for men.
Pastels,
Pastel colours.
sort of like thick-rimmed glasses and moustaches.
Yes, yep,
It predicted a lot.
Yeah.
I really want to rewatch it now that I'm watching this in 2024. When
we're
did it come
living
out?
it. We're living it. It came out in 2013, 14, yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to jump back in. Never as a film felt more relevant for a rewatch. One of the great Joaquin Phoenix performances. I think I'd always acknowledged Joaquin Phoenix is good. Like he'd been good in The Village and things like Walk the Line.
Yeah.
But maybe I hadn't seen him for a while. And then I saw Her.
Yeah.
And the camera is right next to his face for the entire film. And it captures the joy, the despair, the heartbreak, the sadness. And he is one of the best actors working today.
He is, that it's a very well designed world as well, isn't it?
Every
It's kind of
frame, a
like
piece of
part
art.
Californian, part Asian. It's kind of this fusion, futurism. I love, every part of it is gorgeous.
Beautiful.
But
I'd really love to rewatch it. And the poster is Joaquin Phoenix's face. Yeah. Great title. It just leaves you wanting more. Great revelations, and like again, very boots on the ground, but hints at a much bigger idea, a much bigger concept of what could be happening in a realm we don't have access to.
It could be in another world. It's a Black Mirror episode, isn't it? It's like
Absolutely.
That's the same idea.
Yeah,
and then Eternal Sunshine, I do think is a great film. I need to rewatch it again, but I've seen it probably twice. A great cast in that people forget.
Yeah.
It's Jim Carrey, Kate Winslet, Tom Wilkinson, Kirsten Dunst,
Elijah
Wood, Mark. I think Mark Ruffalo's in it. I don't know. Maybe I made that up.
Do you know what? I've forgotten so much of it that I'm ready. I think I'd be quite pleasantly surprised by a lot of it rewatching it.
I think also the emotional resonance now we're older.
Yeah.
That's the benefit about getting older is that you resonate with things much more deeply.
You felt more.
on emotions. Yeah.
You'd be like, it was like that real time in my life.
Yeah.
Versus wondering what it would be like to love and lose.
But that's a great film and
great Jim
brilliant
Carrey
points in the careers for both Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to a film I love, which is Looper. Ryan Johnson's Looper, which still for me is like when people talk about Ryan Johnson with like Knives Out and like The Last Jedi, I'm like, what about Looper though? I really like Looper. I haven't seen it in a long time, but there was a period of about 5 years where I'd watch it a lot, and I love the world it builds. Again, it's a time travel. Well, it's. He said his inspiration was something like The Terminator, which begins as a time travel movie, but then actually very quickly becomes about something else. Yep. And I actually thought the design of the world in Looper, which is kind of like present day, but plus 20 years maybe. So you've got cars from like 20 years ago with things fitted on the back of them to make them drive faster. I saw a lot of that actually in the design of The Running Man when we saw that. I thought it just reminded me of this. Jeff Daniels in there as well, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Bruce Willis playing an older version of himself. The aesthetic of the clubbing where they wear leather jackets and ties and do the eyedropper pipette drugs in their eyes. Really, it's a very tight movie that has a very focused plot, but it actually has time to build this world around it, which is fascinating. And I love Looper very much. I hope it holds up. I haven't seen it in a while, but I champion that as like, I love Looper.
I want to give a shout out to Source Code with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Really fun puzzle of a film. A guy who wakes up on a moving train. And every 8 minutes it blows up and he is basically sent back in time.
Yeah.
He's under the impression that he's like a military personnel and he's being sort of coached by Vera Farmiga to try and figure out what and Jeffrey Wright to try and figure out what happened. And it's this wonderful, like, you've got a bunch of characters on a train, everyone's a suspect, every single moment is different. And I actually just think it's a really fun, playful movie. Jake Gyllenhaal's great in it. I think Michelle Monaghan's in it as well. And I think, like, do you know what, for a weeknight watch, I think that's a really good, fun film from like, what, 2010, 2009?
2011. Because I was going to say, you had this really interesting period where Inception happened, and what it did is it basically for like 3 years supercharged and fast-tracked science fiction
High
projects.
concept sci-fi.
High concept, mid-budget. I mean, I know Inception's not mid-budget. So you got things like Source Code, The Adjustment Bureau, Looper, and
Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow is the
talk
next
about,
one. I mean, that is a great science fiction movie. The underrated Tom Cruise movie that
Terrible title. Great movie.
But I'm not calling it Live, Die, Repeat.
No.
A great solid watch because Tom Cruise is a bit useless in it. And he dies all the time.
He's just still a great movie star. And like, you know, he takes a really long time to get good.
Yeah.
And when he does, it's really satisfying because he spends a lot of time being like, oh my God. And like the aliens in that are really violent and frenetic.
Yeah.
I just think it's a really solid film. Bill Paxton in there.
Yes. Oh, the great Bill Paxton. Yeah.
Time loops. These are like time loop films.
I love them. They're right my street. And speaking of, actually, just want to give a shout out to, there's a movie called Predestination, which came out 2014. Similarly, probably following that wave of science fiction things with Ethan Hawke and a pre-Succession Sarah Snook, and it's actually the first time I saw it. It's just as much her movie as it is his, but that's very much bendy Wendy. Oh, weird time.
Yes.
Oh, God, is that? Wait, could that possibly be? And it's got Noah Taylor in it as well.
Right.
So, you know Noah Taylor, who's in Edge of Tomorrow, and he's
Yes,
also in turns up and he sort of does the exposition, and he sort
I want to give a shout out to Duncan Jones's Moon.
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
great Sam Rockwell films.
Duncan Jones, who directed Source Code.
Yes, so straight into it. Great Sam Rockwell performance. Actually quite a small film, but it feels bigger because it's like big CG space station on the moon. But no, that's a really fun one if you don't know about it. And then similarly, Oblivion, which I think is like an okay film.
Yeah.
It's from Joseph Kosinski, who's gone on to do every big fast vehicle movie ever. I think the problem with Oblivion is that I think it's a bit dry and a bit boring.
Yeah.
I think the actual idea in there is quite fun. I just found it a bit clinical, a bit sanitized.
Right.
And the actual
studio-eyed,
and the whole very design of it is kind of aesthetic like a Denis Villeneuve film, but I don't think as like artistically nourishing.
I want to give a shout out to Event Horizon, which is a film I'd actually love to be remade because it's directed by P.T. or P.S. Anderson, the one who did all the Resident Evil movies.
Right, okay.
Or Paul W.S. Anderson, not to be confused with PTA, the other guy.
Paul Thomas.
And Event Horizon, broadly speaking, is basically a haunted house movie in space. And there are moments of the film that flash to what could have been a much darker, wackier, sordid, disturbing, fucked up version of that movie, but they only do it in glimpses because I think the studio cut the edges off. But it gets mad, and actually, like, it's a good, if you watched it, I think you'd have the same thing, which is like, oh, good ingredients, a little bit dated, has the edges shaved off, but I'd love an actual edgier person to take that and remake it and bring it back. So
just want to give a shout out to The Martian. I think that's a really fun film, love letter to science. It's like it's for some film that could be quite dour and depraved and desperate. It's very fun. It's a fun Matt Damon performance, fun ensemble cast, watching someone figure stuff out and find a solution. I found it a really enjoyable watch.
My only thing is, I like The Martian as well. I think it's a good solid watch, good plane movie.
Great plane movie.
Is that he was just a bit too happy on Mars.
Yeah,
I needed a little bit more despair.
Yeah.
And he's there basically vlogging, being like, hey guys, what's up? I'm making potatoes today. I'm a botanist. And I'm like, you're also like alone, and could this, like, the existential dread, would that seep in? That's what I want. I want a bit of a despair.
Gravity also I want to rate for great special effects and for really communicating the silence of space. Everything is being bunched up and smashed and spinning, but it's all quiet. It's just breathing and score. And I'm like, I know they take a lot of, liberal jumps with the science in terms of like how far you'd be flung off before you could be caught. But I'm like, that's quite fun. The scariest shot ever, I think, is her being spun off, spinning into the void of space, and you're just gone now, and like unless someone can pick you up. I thought that is terrifying.
And lastly, I think I'll conclude us with one that we both agree on. That delivers both the thrills of science fiction whilst also being very focused, and also the brilliance of ideas. John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that really is. I think it's in our long list of favourite movies, isn't it?
It's, again, like master of suspense, intrigue, special effects,
great
performances, great atmosphere and mood. Name a better film that does atmosphere and mood better than The Thing. And like with Alien, they're just...
And this distrust, the thing of like, no pun intended, but like the idea of I can't trust who you are. Could it be you? And what's this? It's getting in your head. The thing also is like an abstract concept. You can't draw the thing. It is a parasite.
Yes.
You can't see it.
It's an idea.
It's like Celebrity Traitors. It's like
Exactly
it's the
like
same
Celebrity
concept.
Traitors.
And a great ending for a movie. And I've told this story before, but I know that The Thing is a great movie because I test it out on people who I typically wouldn't think liked it. So I showed it to my family, my parents and my brother, both parties of whom have very different tastes, but they all really got enraptured with it. I think that's a great movie. Oh, actually, as well, some people
We're
shouted
tight on
out.
time, so
We're
be
tight on
quick.
time, but just so we're running out of data in the memory card.
Yeah.
Some people thought that Jurassic Park counted.
It's like there's a big sci-fi idea in there, but I don't think the sci-fi idea is enough to call it a sci-fi film. I'd say it's like an adventure movie.
Adventure movie with a seed
Monster
of science
movie.
fiction inseminated into its amber.
Yeah, I like the whole thing is we never stop to think about it if we should. I think that's the one sci-fi idea running through there and the mosquito logic. Just before we run out of space on the card, I really enjoyed that talking about sci-fi. You and I love a sci-fi film.
I'm realizing it's actually. Go and finish.
No, I was just going to say that we want to do this with all the great genres of cinema, and I think it'd be fun to do like some niche genres, like apocalypse movies.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it's not like I don't know, just get more granular with it. But thank you so much for. Go on. What do you trying to say?
I just want to say that some people have asked us in the past, like, what genre do they think is going to be dominant, like after the superheroes and stuff. But I just think science fiction is having a really great moment right now. Not only have we said big movies that have come out like June, but also like if you look at like Apple TV, for example, Severance, Pluribus, like these really
Project
interesting
Hail Mary coming out soon.
Like this is actually a time of really interesting science fiction that people are latching onto. That's all I want to say. It's a great time to love sci-fi.
Don't forget to check out other episodes of Pulp Kitchen on the feed. We've just most recently reviewed Frankenstein. What did you do last week? It was The Running Man,
The Running Man and Emily, yes.
and my mum, because we're getting there. But check out our Patreon if you want to hear our new show. Thank you so much for listening. We post new episodes every single week. Thank you all to producers
Finn, Dave,
Dave
and
and
Lars.
Loz.
Cheers, guys.
And that's the end of the card. Thank you so much.